comforted by someone that objective, right? From earliest times, in uprisings of all sorts, the attacked party has claimed that there has been incitement from the outside by foreign emissaries and agitators. Insofar as this has happened, it represents an exaggeration of the specific role of the stranger. He is the freer man, practically and theoretically, right? Theoretically, he's freer. Why is the stranger freer? The stranger is freer because the stranger is not bound, right? All of these individuals are bound by whatever it is that classifies them as a group, right? The stranger is freer insofar as the stranger stands outside of that definitive social characteristic, or those definitive social characteristics, right? It's not to say that this is a fixed state of a position for all time, right? The stranger might lose himself in the crowd for a while and then regain himself as an individual. When we go to movies, we all assimilate to the definitive characteristic of losing yourself in a movie, right? If you're in a movie thinking that I'm watching a succession of still images, right? Unless it's digital, right? But even then, it's frames per second, right? If you're watching a succession of still images and that everything that you're seeing is the appearance of motion, right? If you think of it critically like that, then that's sort of a bummer, right? No, you're in the movies, you really are watching the character. He really is in real life right there, and blah, 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 and the love is really unfolding. And, you know, these aren't actors on the stage, right? This is how we can make assessments between good plays, good dramas, good movies. How good is the actor in making me forget that he or she is actually an actor? I actually empathize with the plight of the individual, right? So, practically and theoretically, he examines conditions with less prejudice, right? I don't come to the assessment with any prejudged argument. Tell me your greatest story. Tell me your story. If your story is better than mine, I'm riding with your story. My story that I've been holding for 35 years, I'm throwing it in the garbage because I'm with you now, right? Because you have a better story than anyone I've ever heard, right? He has no prejudice. He assesses them against standards that are more general and more objective, and his actions are not confined by custom, piety, or precedence. I mean, come on. Symbol, come on, man. That's Rockstar. That's Rockstar. It doesn't get much better than that for me. Academia, that's a hallmark of a good writer, right? It's unbelievably persuasive. How can you argue against that? I can think of some ways to argue against that, but the idea is that the stranger is objective and mobile. Mobility not in the physical sense, as I said before. The stranger is objective and mobile insofar as his or her participation with the group is understood in terms of his willingness to transform to varying degrees who he is based on information, objective recognition of facts that he's going to see. And this is exactly what's happening to me personally in the occupation movement. I go to the occupation the first time in Fort Lauderdale, I'm like, I sort of get it, I sort of don't. I heard grievances all over the place. Some of those grievances I associate with, some of those grievances I have no particular emotional attachment to. I go to Occupy in Miami, I'm like, wow, okay, this is heavy, right? These guys are protesting, there's thousands of people out there. It's more just expression and energy. It's Miami, I mean, come on. It's New York, Miami, and LA, right? So it's like, it's Miami, so it's a lot of energy in Miami, it's a lot of music, it's a lot of singing, and you really start to recognize, like, wow, this is huge, right? I mean, music is probably one of the definitive social characteristics. It's one of the hallmark characteristics of the social beings make music. So to incorporate music into the occupation movement might seem incidental. It's not at all, right? It pulls you even closer to the occupation movement when you hear someone singing, "This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what and you start chanting, you start singing, you get intoxicated by it, right? The only other social movement that I can think, or the social institution that's probably stronger than music, I would say, is marriage, the institution of marriage. And the Occupy movement, as I said before, will transcend once it starts to organize marriage, right? Because then it becomes something otherworldly at that point, right? This objectivity allows me to recognize that the thing that I thought was a joke at first, and I never really thought it was a joke, but the thing that I was like, I don't know what this is about, my first video, I was like, I don't really know. If I was younger, if I was a college student, I'd be more involved. And now I find myself wholly immersed, right? Because I'm being open to the movement. I'm allowing the movement to show me what it is. And insofar as I'm not approaching the movement with some preconceived notion, I'm just allowing it to display itself for its good and its bad. I then can better gauge my relationship to the movement, right? Symbol just, I think it's a great point. All right, so the synthesis. Objectivity, as newly defined now, is the pathway to freedom, to liberation. Right? This is me, right? Objectivity is the pathway to freedom, to liberation. Objectivity is the way in which individuals, both in a social setting, you could say theological setting, you could say a political setting, you could put whatever you want to fill in, the educational setting, for sure for me. Objectivity is the pathway to freedom, right? I, as a global educator, as an online educator, do not wed myself to the ivory tower, to the institution. Part of what I do is the institution. Part of what I do is the ivory tower. I am a professor. I do like the position insofar as the position allows me to transform people's lives. I mean, it's intoxicating. It's an amazing feeling to know that you can encourage someone to become a better scholar. It's one of my greatest addictions ever. However, as I said before, and I don't want to get too far off topic, it's an obligation that I have because I'm free. Because I objectively recognize that so many of you don't have access to the institution. And, you know, I get a lot of hate, I get a lot of bad comments, but I get far more positive comments than I get negative comments. Tenfold more positive comments than I get negative comments. And it's not that, oh, Dr. Campbell, you're so great. I don't really care about that. Dr. Campbell, you know, watching your videos helped me pass my test. Watching your videos helped me do better on my A-levels. Watching your videos helped me understand this theory better. That's what it's about, right? It's not about Jason and Jason's theories as much as it is, here's the canon. The canon's really difficult to understand. I'm the guy to help you understand the canon. If I'm helping you understand the canon, if I'm helping you understand the material, well, it's objectively verified every single time one of you tells me you're helping me in my education process. And insofar as I'm helping you in your education process, it helps me recognize how important it is what I'm doing. So, for example, one last point, and I'll get back on target. All of the PDF notes that I put up on the back end from my website, I can track how many times it's been downloaded, the document. I don't know who's downloaded the document, but I know how many times the document's been downloaded. I recognize that the first thing that I'm going to do, and I know you guys will love this, the first thing that I'm going to do starting 2012 is wrap up Paulo Freire, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, because overwhelmingly that is the most downloaded document that I have. It's downloaded far more than even my Nietzsche series, right? So despite the fact that my Nietzsche series is longer and the notes are much, much longer than Freire, Freire is downloaded more times than any other document of my collected notes that I've put together for all the different, you know, international war, blah, 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 qualitative theory. It's the most downloaded document that I have on my Freire. So that tells me that you guys want Freire. I'm then objectively able to transform myself to say, you know what, I can keep on doing the stuff that I like doing, or since I recognize that these people are supporting me and I'm supporting them, and they are telling me, though you're not telling me directly, they're telling me in the amount of times they've downloaded this document that they really appreciate the Freire lecture series, well, let me go back and finish up Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And then right after that, I'm going to do Education for Critical Consciousness and on and on and on. Right? So it's a sense in which that I'm not wedded to any particular doctrine, I'm not wedded to any particular thing. My participation in an educational objective social relation, and this is an educational social movement, it is to recognize that I have to be able to objectively transform myself with the evolution of this new social media, education as socially accessible for free, right? Similarly, someone in the Occupy movement has to do the same, right? The objective detachment of the stranger is his or her greatest strength. The bond to any social institution is only strong insofar as the movement contributes to the willful expression of the individual's freedom. The Occupy movement is going to, if things play out properly, become